The passing of Obamacare is unconstitutional. The federal government, with Obamacare, is forcing Americans to buy health insurance. It's not free, it must be bought and paid for. An individual's personal decision to purchase or decline the purchase of health insurance from a private provider is beyond the historical reach of the United States Constitution. No specifically constitutional authority exists to mandate the purchase of health insurance. Of course, not only does Obamacare force people to purchase insurance, it provides for fines of up to 2.5% of their annual income should they refuse to purchase it. The Supreme Court upheld Obamacare's individual mandate in a 5-4 decision authored by Chief Justice John Roberts. The Supreme Court wrongly concluded that Obamacare can stand. But just because a majority of the Supreme Court declares something to be constitutional does not make it so. Millions of Americans simply won't accept it and will act to help overhaul it. Make no mistake, Obamacare is not constitutional. As a consequence of the court's rulings, Americans, whether they want it or not, will be compelled to purchase a product, health insurance, or pay a penalty. Obamacare exceeds the scope of the Commerce Clause. The purpose of Congress's power to regulate commerce among the states was to end interstate protectionist measures and establish a national free trade pact. The Constitution does not give Congress the power to create commerce in order to regulate it. Obamacare threatens the notion of limited government. The individual mandate would be a grant of limitless legislative and regulatory power. This violates the doctrine of enumerated powers in which Congress is given few and specific legislative powers. Obamacare also imperils religious liberty because it forces religious institutions to provide services that violate their faith. Obamacare rewrites contract law. The individual mandate renders the purchase of health insurance to be compulsory. For centuries, it has been understood that a contract is valid only if parties voluntarily and mutually assent to the terms. Obamacare charges a financial penalty to regulate behavior, so it imposes a financial penalty on those that fail to purchase health insurance. The Constitution does not grant Congress an independent power to tax for the general welfare and may not use taxation as a means to regulate activity unless the regulation is authorized by the Constitution. Obamacare imposes an unconstitutional tax. The Obama administration asserts that the financial penalty is a tax. However, this tax does not satisfy the three types of taxes, which are income, excise, or direct, listed as valid in the Constitution. The penalty is not assessed on income, so it is not a valid income tax. The penalty is not assessed uniformly and triggered by economic inactivity, so it is not a valid excise tax. Finally, Obamacare fails to apportion the tax among the states by population and therefore is not a valid direct tax. Obamacare erodes federalism. Obamacare's expansion of Medicaid is of such an enormous degree that states are coerced into compliance or risk abandoning the poor. Obamacare would deny all Medicaid funds for non-compliant states. Obamacare infringes upon the reserved powers of the states and the people. The 10th Amendment reserves powers not granted to the federal government to the states and to the people. Nowhere in the Constitution is Congress granted the power to compel the purchase of a product as a condition upon legal residence in the United States. Obamacare is neither necessary nor proper. The Necessary and Proper Clause grants Congress the means to execute its enumerated powers and adds no additional powers to the legislative branch. The regulation of inactivity cannot be necessary and proper in executing the powers of the Commerce Clause. Obamacare is not just unconstitutional, but it will increase taxes and health care costs, destroy new jobs, add to the national debt, burden both small and large businesses with new regulations, and violate the founding principles of a republic expressly founded to secure the blessings of liberty. Obamacare has caused up to 20 million Americans to lose their health insurance policies, and according to the Congressional Budget Office, the health care reform law will destroy 800,000 jobs. An analysis from the Joint Committee on Taxation from November 2009 shows that in 2016, 3/4 of the tax imposed by the individual mandate will fall on those making less than $120,000 of income for a family of 4 or $59,000 for an individual. Families of 4 making $72,000 or less and individuals making $35,400 or less will bear nearly half of the mandate tax. This is a direct tax on the middle class. It is clear that though its proposed $500 billion in tax increases, the $500 billion in Medicare cuts, and the individual mandates and regulations, Obamacare will swiftly harm our country. The Supreme Court, the ruling body that our founding fathers created to protect citizens from tyranny, decided to uphold Obamacare and thus stripped Americans of their personal liberties and freedoms. Obamacare is pure socialism instigated by a fascist few. It is leading to a world in which you are told what to do, where to live, where to work, what to eat, and what to think cradle to grave.